All right, we got another Kizer Sheepdog to check out, guys. I'm really excited to have this one in hand. I am really digging this colorway. We're going to do a full review today and a disassembly because I've had sheepdogs on here before. I know this is a new version and I am pumped about it, but we can consolidate it to get it all into one because we have full reviews out there for you to check out. We're going to start off with some size comparisons, check out that profile and the weight, do a little bit of cutting, and then we're going to jump into that disassembly. Let's go ahead and kick it off with some size comparisons. All right, on the table, we have the Kizer Militaw as your full size comparison knife here. So you can see the sheepdog is definitely more full size in my opinion. And then you got the Towser S here on the table, more of a smaller EDC. And this is definitely more full size, both with the girth and the height on this one. So let's do a couple more size comparisons. All right, guys. Got a couple more on the table for size comparisons. We got a couple of lightweights from Spyderco, the Para 3 and the Manix 2. And as you can see, it's more in line with that Manix 2 for sure. Definitely dwarfing, or at least I feel like dwarfing that Spyderco Para 3 lightweight. Let's check out the in-pocket profile and thickness. All right, so here we are on the table with them closed up, and you know, this is definitely, in my opinion, more comparable to the Manix 2 for the girth and the depth that it carries in the pocket, but it is actually a little bit more shallow carrying in the pocket as well because of that handle is not as long as these other two knives. So if you wanted to argue that it was more on the medium size, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I definitely feel like, you know, it's more of a full-sized EDC. Let's check out the thickness here against the Militaw. So with those flat scales, you can see just a little bit. I'm using the green there to get those to go through, but just a little bit thinner with those flat scales versus the contoured scales that you see there on that Militaw. And then when you pull it up against the Manix 2 lightweight with the flat scales, you can see these are very comparable. Let's check that weight out. All right, scales on, ready to go. This one's going to be a little heavy with that big, beefy blade on it, coming in at 4.4 ounces. So no surprise there. You got a lot of steel on that blade, a lot of 154 cm here, and then you got the steel hardware and everything because this one is that Vanguard edition, which helps keep the price down. Let's check it out at the table in the garage and look at a little bit of cutting. All right, guys. Just going to do a quick sample. 154 cm from Kizer usually comes with a fantastic factory edge. So you see there's no resistance there. We're just going to run it through the cardboard really quick. I'm super familiar with Kizer's 154 cm. I'm super familiar with the Sheepdog's cutting geometry. It is deceptively slicey for as big of a knife as it is, and it has such an acute edge and tip here. It's super, super useful in that draw cut, and just a very comfortable ergo regardless of how you're holding this one and how you're using it. All the grips feel good on this, and that 154 cm is going to be phenomenal at holding at edge here. You're not going to see any real blemishes on these, man. These are really cool. Let's kick it back up to the desk. All right, as you can see, surprisingly slicey, right? This thing really performs well. We're looking at about 40% lockup. Let's go ahead and do our spine whack test. There you go. Ear ringing a little bit. If you know, you know, I do these tests as a means of replicating an accidental spine whacking. We don't baton with our folding knives, guys, right? That is just if you accidentally were to hit it because you weren't paying close enough attention and you're not using proper knife safety, and still looking at about a 40% lockup. All right, let's get into it, man. I'm just super excited. Detent on here is dialed, guys. This thing has a wonderful detent, super satisfying to deploy, not for the faint of heart. It is very stout, very, very stout, very strong. If you have weak hands, not good dexterity, no muscle strength in there, this one's not going to be for you. I don't know what else to tell you. Get the access lock, get the clutch lock version or get the button lock version of this one. Don't go for the full frame lock or the liner lock on this one, man. It is just really, really dialed. You can see here I've been enjoying this one a lot. It's starting to patina a little bit. I really am digging this red denim micarta. I think the black and red looks really good. I even like the mimicked button here, like on 501 jeans or something like that. I think that's a nice touch, and it gives it just a little bit more character on a knife that really has a lot of character, in my opinion. Very comfortable to hold. I'm able to get nearly full 4 fingers on here, choked back. This is a really comfortable position. If I was doing some chopping, this is where it would be at. Now, I will say with the fold over steel clip here, it is steel, right? I'm saying steel. Yeah, steel clip, just making sure, because I thought that's what they use to help keep the cost down. I just wanted to make sure. I do feel that move around and shift a little bit when I start to grip down, but the weird thing is when I choke up, to get that better purchase for better detailed push cuts and power cutting, it doesn't move as much. So you really have to rest directly on here, and that happens because my palm hits it right there for it to shift around. But when it's choked up right here, this is super comfortable. I'm able to get a nice purchase, control it, be able to get out here and do some detailed work with the tip. And then, believe it or not, even with this blade, and it could be again the larger hands, but that position for the purchase, my thumb lands right in the thumb hole, middle finger here wraps perfectly around there, and then I have a nice purchase here for that detailed controlled cutting that I'm going to be doing on the tabletop tips. Just a real surpriser. If you've never handled a sheepdog or used one because you thought it was too big, it is amazing how functional this is, how strong it feels, and how well it works. Beautiful black wash on this one. Look at all the stone pelting on there. Came with a great edge, lots of bite. I really enjoy 154 CM from Kizer. They do a fantastic job. Again, very satisfying to deploy. That is a well done opening hole. I think one of the best things that they did was just get rid of the flipper tab and do this particular version. To me, this is the cleanest, the best use. Really like the tri-way here. No issues with it going in and out of the pocket. Very, very good clip retention here. The liners are milled out for weight reduction, and you got really cool pivot collars. T8 hardware, I think, throughout on this one. We'll find out here in a minute when we take it down. You got the Delrin washers in the pivot there, and yep, solid bank vault side to side and up and down. Let me get the mat and we'll jump into it. All right, guys, I do recommend Weehaw bits. They are my favorite bit because I have not had any of them really strip, and they hold up a really long time, especially for someone like me that does like to do regular maintenance on their knives, cleaning and disassembling everything. I did check T8, T8, T8. So everything is T8 for the disassembly. The liner can, in this instance, because there's no button or anything funky like that, can go ahead and come out with the outer scale. If you want to take the scale off of the nested liner, then you want to go ahead and remove that pocket clip. So 3 screw construction to get down in there, very easily coming apart. Did I not get that out? I thought it dropped. I think it's getting hung up on the micarta. Yeah, it's definitely totally getting hung up on the micarta. So we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. Let me pay attention to make sure I don't strip it out. Oh, yeah, neither one of them want to come out because of the micarta. So let's go ahead and move on to the pivot. Came out very easily. A little bit of thread locker on there. Steel pivot for sure. Probably steel hardware too at this price point. There you go. There's your pivot collar. If you want to take a good look at that, feel free to pause if you would like. Let me set that to a side because I do need to clean this. They're definitely hung up on the micarta, but as long as they stay there and they don't go wandering, that'll be fine. Let me go ahead and remove this. This definitely looks like a 6mm pivot. Beautiful Delrin washers. I'm leaving it like this so I can make sure I get a screen grab during the editing. We're going to go ahead and start to clean everything. So we're going to start with the blade. With the black wash blade, the coating does come off a little bit here, so you may notice a little bit more dirt than you normally see from your Kizers, and that's why I do say if you go with the black wash, you're definitely going to want to make sure you do some regular maintenance here, because it's going to continue to wear until it breaks all the way in. You can see it's clean in the middle, but what you saw was the debris coming off from the black wash. Just making sure all that is clean. So it's definitely just the black wash that you're going to see here in just a second. So you can see the spot is clean. We'll go ahead and roll it. The only thing with the Delrin washers is if they're a little sharp on the edges, they will stick a little bit. And actually that came out cleaner than I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be more dirt. So I'm going to have to do it this way, guys. If it's a little sharp, there we go. If it's, yeah, see, it's sharper on this side. That's the side that's grabbing onto the cloth, but came out nice and clean, dry there. Let's go ahead and do this side since that's going to go on last. A little bit of oil kind of near that detent ball. I really don't want that at all, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that and the steel liner that it rides onto. Help keep that clean, and it's already got a track worn in. So this definitely looks like the 6mm 1/16 pivot. I'm not even going to bother checking that because that's what it's been on everything that I've checked for Kizer here recently. The Invictus, this one here has the 6mm 1/16 Delrin. I think they switched sizes because everybody's using the 5mm, and it's probably easier to keep this size coming in regularly. That's pretty clean too. That's my guess anyway. We're going to go ahead and let all that drop out so I can clean this up. Yeah, just a little bit of smudge, not too bad. Go ahead and clean up the pivot here. And before we put that back and before we finish with the cleaning and lube, let me check the detent ball track with one of my circuit board cleaning Q-tips. Oops, I had like 3 come out with that one. There is a chance with the black wash, which would be really hard to tell here, that it could be building up in here, and that'll just keep the detent feeling good. So minorly plugged up. Not awful at all, to be honest with you. Looking pretty good, so we'll keep an eye on that. So that came out pretty good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the pivot on this side, and I'm also going to, it's upside down, get the pivot collar in the position that I like. So I'm not sure what that says, but I am going to, there we go. Ah, there we go. I want it to sit a certain way. Don't mind my OCD. I want it reading straight up and down, so I'm going to leave it like that. Drop it down to make sure that it doesn't move. Grab my lube of choice. I do like Hops gun oil. I'm going to pinch and pull at the same time to make sure my pivot's not moving. And then I'm just going to drop a little layer there. It's standing up today. I don't know what I did to deserve getting its cooperation today. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I shouldn't have cleaned it yet. Yeah, still in place like I want it to be. We'll go ahead and drop a little on the index finger. I like smearing it on. I don't know how else to describe this, but smearing it on keeps it from bleeding off of the bearing through the pivot onto the micarta and having like a stained pivot area and nothing else really matching. So I do prefer to do it this way just to get, like I said, a thin layer going on there, and then we can drop this down. Everything with the pivot and the bearing being lubed should be good to go. It doesn't look like it's got an air pocket today, so I should be able to get just that little drop. Yeah, perfect. Yes, everything's cooperating today. It must know that this is one of my favorite Kizers. I would say the Militol has taken over first place. Sheepdog is in second, and the Sparrow is third, especially with that flipper delete and finger choil, 50-50 finger choil, trigger pull style that Satu Dave put on mine. Like, to me, that's like the perfect setup for that one. It is modded, but because of that mod, it rides very high up there. So this feels good. We got all the lube that we want on here. Let me go ahead and dry my fingers off. Get this reinstalled. I'm laughing at those screws. They're hanging on for dealer life. Hold on. Why does this feel like it's not? There we go. I was going to say it feels like it's not dropping, and then I'm going to have this pivot with my OCD self facing the same way and hope that that doesn't move when I go to screw it down. It may. It's a little bit more free falling there, so I'm going to try to use my ring finger. Oh wait, let me clean some of that off. That feels a little overdone. It's catching a lot of the threads there. I'm going to try to squeeze down a little bit harder and try to clean it off the threads a little bit there. That feels better. And I'm going to take this and try to do the same thing here. That's a little too much, man. A little too much thread locker hanging out down in there. What I was saying is I'm going to try to use this finger to keep it from spinning if I can. And if it spins, it's no big deal. I'm just being a little OCD, you know, if I'm being truthful here. Oops. Oh. There we go. Yeah, it spun. It spun. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything about that. Oh. All right. Well, it spun. There's not much I'm going to be able to do about that. Yeah. Not much I'm going to be able to do about that. All right. Let's go ahead and get these done too. Make sure that I'm not bound up in any way, shape, or form. All right. That feels good. Let's tighten that. Yep, those are tight too. Perfect. Let's see. A little tight. Let me back it off just a little bit more. All right. Couldn't get that one. Got that one. All right. No play. Feels a little tight, but I'm centered. Let me see. Might be able to come back just a little bit more. Just be careful with how much you loosen these. All right, that was a little. Let me see. Oh yeah, there we go. That's perfect. All right, let me clean this up and I'll finish what I was saying about being careful with the pivot. Okay, so what I was saying is just be really careful. Sorry, I shifted all of this around. With those pivots, you don't want to back them out too much to where it'll eventually back out on you when you don't want it to back out on you. But everything's feeling really nice and crisp. That detent, very stout. Feels very smooth with the lube and how I did that on there. It shouldn't leak out. I was able to keep this pivot fairly still, up and down. This one spun around on me, no big deal. Like I said, I couldn't quite get it to stay in place while also torquing it. Nice and centered, not a guillotine on this one. And usually I feel like these are guillotines, but it could just be because the black wash on there is creating a little bit of resistance on the detent ball and the track might not be fully worn in. But I was just super excited. I've had so many Sheepdogs XL, I've had the Mini. I just really like this model. It's super cool. It's got personality, but it's not super offensive, or it doesn't really raise any eyebrows because it doesn't have an acute tip. It looks like something you would use in the kitchen, cleaver style. So I really enjoy this, and this is a sweet combo. The blue or the black with the black wash looks really good, and these are brand new out from Kizer. Linked down below to get you over there to pick one of these up, and it does really support the channel because it shows that you guys found it interesting, decided to pull the trigger, and used my link to go over there and get it. Watching to this point of the video helped the algorithm, so thank you for that. If you enjoyed, like it and comment. That all helps, guys. I really appreciate that support. support, and I see you out there on the regular doing it, and I can't thank you guys enough. Special thank you to those channel members, that extra layer of support that you're providing. Really appreciate it. I hope all of you have a fantastic week, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.